coming. Now, in his long distinguished career, John David, or J.D. Hayworth, has had many titles. He's been a talk show host, he's been a sports caster, an author, a husband, father, son, and yes, even a congressman. Born on July 12, 1958 in High Point, North Carolina, and graduating from North Carolina State University in 1980, J.D. worked as a sportscaster from 1979 to 1993. He's worked in such places as Raleigh, Greenville, Cincinnati, and Phoenix. In 1989, he was married to the love of his life, Mary Yancey, and together they have 3 wonderful children. As a member of Congress from 1995 to 2007, J.D. was known as an outspoken advocate for the causes of limited government and lower taxes. He was known as the only Arizonan to serve on the House Ways and Means Committee and also an assistant House Majority Whip. In 2006, he authored Whatever It Takes, Illegal Immigration, Border Security, and the War on Terror. He has been named a Ronald Reagan Fellow by Citizens United, a Senior Fellow by the American Civil Rights Institute, a Paul Harris Fellow of Rotary International, and an Eagle Scout. In his farewell address to Congress, J.D. said, "Public service isn't always defined by public office." Now back behind the microphone, he is engaged in his own kind of public service as the 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. radio host on 550 KFYI. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you J.D. Hayworth.
Well, Brett, I have to tell you, first of all, can everybody hear me okay? I spend 3 hours a day behind one of these things, so I don't want to charge the same fee to my party that I'm broadcasting. Brett, I have to tell you, of all the introductions I've received, that by far is the most recent. And I'm grateful. Now, you're doing a great job for the party, and we appreciate the work of our staff and our wonderful officers, but most of all, we appreciate your work. Let me say this as one who walked neighborhoods both as a candidate and as a volunteer. Let me say this as one who has worked with so many of you in a variety of different settings, in a variety of different circumstances, on a variety of different issues. There is one constant truth about our people and our party. When push comes to shove, we stand together. Doesn't mean we don't have disagreements from time to time. It doesn't mean, being human beings, from time to time we find ourselves perhaps offering pointed criticism. But it does mean we understand that those who mistakenly say there's not a dime's worth of difference between the 2 major parties need to understand a couple of basic facts. Number 1, you and I as Republicans measure the greatest social program as being not government generated, but measured by being a job in which people can be gainfully employed and can work to succeed or fail given the freedom we all enjoy. And number 2, we measure success not by the numbers of people added to the welfare rolls, but by the numbers of people who leave welfare and go to work. And whatever other differences we may have, they pale in comparison to the differences with those who sadly now believe themselves to be the custodians of our future. The current president would do well to heed the wisdom and the counsel of our first president, because it was George Washington who wisely pointed out, we must see the world as it is, not merely as we wish it to be. And yet, given the phenomenal, unparalleled, and at times even curious rise of Barack Obama, we are confronted by one who has great vocal timbre, who has an ability to excite some, and certainly an unparalleled eloquence, albeit in front of a teleprompter. But the callousness and the inexperience of youth are even overshadowed by the misguided policies he represents. In retrospect, we should not be surprised. Indeed, we look to an area where so many of you may have voluntarily departed. A certain county in Illinois. Sometimes typified by a city that Carl Sandburg described as the city of big shoulders, but you and I know as the city of creative ballot accounting. And what we see in this administration is the mutation, and it was inevitable, not built on geographical proximity as much as philosophical need. The misguided, perverted propaganda and, quote, social activism of Saul Alinsky, married to the ruthless machine tactics that typify Cook County, and that is the modern mutation, sadly now ensconced at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Indeed, all we are seeing now in terms of governance is Cook County writ large. We see it even with the creative accounting of recovery.gov. And yes, that's right. We have, just think about it, we have so many different districts now, whether it is the 15th district or I guess the 9th district, which must be actually the Mexican state of Sonora. I don't know. Or who could forget the ever popular District 00?